You
I mean,
know,
it's
look, Kevin can't say this, but I can. Not every art, like piece of art that I saw there merited, a little bit of scratch. Just because somebody puts an effort in doesn't mean that like that effort is worth something and that it, like has a base requirement to be, to be compensated for. You put like, I mean,
go.
the fact of life is that a lot of times you put in a lot of effort for things you're not going to see compensation for. You do it because you care about, something, or maybe you don't care about it. Maybe you didn't care that much to begin with, and you threw it in a lark. And like, I think that a system that you're proposing is one that would be, would be exploited in just a different way, right? Like, so that now artists are like, there's a scenario where there are artists who are like, this is an easy way to make like a little bit of money.
No, no,
But like,
no.
I mean, no, but
Listen, so
seriously, this is like,
I've made
this
no
is, I mean,
suggestion. I've made, wait,
this
wait,
is
wait, wait.
like way
I've made,
off
I
on the
haven't,
wrong track because like,
I haven't, no, well, actually it's not. This is what we've been talking about the whole time, but I haven't made a single suggestion this whole time that could be exploited for a little bit of scratch. To say that, like, an artist should be reimbursed up to $600 if they're coming from this far distance isn't to say they shouldn't hand in receipts, they shouldn't be expected to do all the things professional artists do, and that that should be done after they've participated. And that, like, yeah, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to put in things that like nobody else thinks are, except for the venue. I assume the venue has like some choice that if they don't want Piss Christ in their real estate office, they don't have to show it. But in fact, that artist can put themselves as a Zone A artist, and they can totally self-fund. There's no reason to keep out those artists, like you said. Like, but there is like a reason to say like we want to support artists too. We want to support all the artists in some way, some minor way, significant though. To say we're going to give you back your $50, and if you flew here and you spent $400 on your plane ticket, and you can hand us that receipt, and we'll reimburse you because you're from that zone. And if you're not from that zone and you somehow manage to spend $400 to get here, like we're not going to reimburse you just because you came from elsewhere. Like you have to be able to show that like you're from this area. It's all transparent. But this isn't to beat a dead horse. Like I'm not saying let's make this
Right.
perfect. I'm saying let's make it
Right.
more perfect.
And I'm not saying that idea isn't transparent. It is. I think it's complex, which may or may not be a bad thing. I think it's a thing that does fit with the spirit of what we're doing. Because some artists are funded when they come here. Either they get funds from their venues, or they successfully raise sponsorship on their own, or they're represented by a commercial gallery who funds them. We had dozens of artists successfully use Kickstarter last year, raising up to like 20 grand to come from all over. And so I think that, to go back to that idea of like, some initiatives provide support, and we're more interested in providing a challenge. I think that support is definitely necessary, but part of the challenge is to figure that out. Not everybody's going to figure it out successfully. It's that's like the level playing field that we're providing, at least at this stage in the game, doesn't include that. Like you're figuring out not only how to make work and how to hopefully get people to vote for it, but you're also figuring out how to get it here, and how are you going to do that? And that's something that I totally understand the desire, and I totally understand the need to put resources toward that, and I think that that's great. But like with what we're doing in this specific instance is challenging people to figure it out. And what they've done, and one of two things happens: either they fail, which hopefully is a valuable experience, because like failing fast and failing often and learning from failures is one of the best ways to grow creatively, or they succeed. And more often than not, when they succeed in a way that's more efficient and more inventive than we could have come up with if we were prescribing things or making like a tiered system of how people get like a flat amount of support. I'm not making I'm not trying to make a moral distinction between the two. I'm not trying to make a value judgment about one over the other. What I'm trying to do is just draw a distinction between simple and open and like a more sort of tiered and vectored and complex thing that has to be sort of heavily managed and mandated from the top down. And that's just not the model that we're using. I don't think there's anything wrong with that model, but it's just not the model that we're using.